Do 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 do. Where am I fucking streaming to? Holy shit. Hold on. Where am I streaming to? What account am I streaming to? This is very important to know these things. Oh, it says I'm live right now. Okay, cool. It's working. YouTube just isn't telling me that it's working. This is so sad. Alexa, play Despacito. I just realized I'm not really going to be able to see the stream chat, so I need to pull it up on my phone. We got this. There we go. Now I can read whatever anyone puts in chat. This is great. I just here. Let me set chat up. There we go. I'm live. I'm live. Everyone can see that I'm live. I'm here. So, assuming it's saying the right thing, you guys now know I have a new PC. I can see how much latency there is. This is tripping me out. But I got a new PC. I'm very happy with it. So far, it's been very good to me. I've been testing it out the past, like, few days. Just to make sure it's okay. Also, I know that some people feel iffy about the whole thing about a Minecraft server where it says welcome to hell. I understand that. But hell isn't a place, it's a mentality. Ooh, this is what I gotta mine up here. Okay. This is a mining sim. Requirements nether. I think that's what I have. Sandstorm. Yeah, I got sandstorm. And billions of coins. Great. Perfect. So how about let's just get started with mining. Just start with the most basic shit. Talisman expert. Ooh, I already got some of these. Nate was nice enough to give me some stuff. So, time to mine. Also, wait, shit. Where's the thing for when you level up? That's a glowstone. This is Black Magician. Huh? What does that say? I literally can't even read that. What? Coal talisman? Oh, black hole talisman. Click to donate talisman to the black hole and gain permanent status. I'm gonna have to ask Nate about how exactly to use that. But yeah. He showed me a little bit about that on a... like... I can't go there yet. He showed me a little bit about the black hole stuff in a call Requires 225. Oh, shit. I got a ways to go. That's the redstone stuff. So, oh, quartz block won't let me pass. This area is more restrictive than the other areas were, because I used to be able to run past the sign, yeah. Hat upgrader. Ooh. I have that one. I need the next one up, but the thing is, I tried to get the next one up, and for some reason, the game told me no. So, here I am. You guys wanna see how long it takes to get to 225 it was? So, I've been gone for a while just because, well, you know, my computer didn't work. The last streams I tried to do, what happened was my computer would just literally turn itself off. I couldn't help it. It just, at a certain point, it would just decide, no, I'm not gonna run anything. And it would just shut itself off. It wouldn't even blue screen. You know, I used to have a problem with blue screening. And it wouldn't even give me the satisfaction of seeing the blue screen with the frowny face. It would just shut itself off, go full black screen. So that's when I was finally like, okay, it's time to get a new computer. Because the old one I had for, I want to say since I turned 18. Because I bought that for myself as an 18th birthday present. And I'm now 24. So like a third of my life ago? It's weird to put it into that perspective. No, not a third. More like a fourth. But I was so close with the fractions. So yeah, a fourth of my life ago, I bought it. It's weird to think about it like that. What else is there? So when I got the new one, I found out the hard way that for some reason it doesn't have 2 HDMI ports, which is basically what allows someone to have like multiple screen setup. And I had bought a second monitor thinking that this had another port. So I'm gonna be having to buy an adapter. An adapter basically, more keys! An adapter would basically let me, wait, how do I get back up? How do I get back up? Hello? Hold on. An adapter would basically let me be able to have the 2 monitor set up, because I have the second monitor like up and ready for going. I don't quite have the ability to plug it in right now, which I would like to do. A legendary 3% egg. How much does this... Oh my goodness. I know it doesn't look like much compared to how much I have, but for that kind of roll, that's pretty good. For that kind of key level. I know it's bound to be good because it's a 3% chance, but still. The point still stands. So... Since I got the new PC, I've just kind of been testing it out, really. And it's been working pretty well. So I finally got OBS today, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and stream again. And the craziest thing is when I open OBS, it opens like 50 different tabs for some reason. But also, if I try to open another OBS tab, it'll say that it's already running. So that means that it's running, I don't know how many tabs, it won't show me the full amount. But it's supposed to only run one. So there's that. And then I signed up for more ceremonies. I talked on live about my experience with Aya, and Aya was amazing. She kind of talked me into the whole idea of getting a new setup situation going, and I'm finally doing a live stream on the new setup. So, she also gave me advice for, like, rearranging my bedroom, which meant buying an actual bed set for myself, which I haven't had in literal years, if I'm being honest. So, I've already broken my bed. That's one thing that I did within the first day of having it. And then, so the way that it's broken means that it's at like an angle where it's like, say this is the bed, right? Just one corner is down. So it's at a diagonal angle, which is weird to think about. And then I really want to get back into playing more games in general. Like, I used to stream Stardew Valley, and I really loved playing that. And I haven't played it in a while, so I think I'm just doing Minecraft right now just to get into the swing of things a bit. I don't know why. Saying that just gave me major deja vu. Maybe it's meant to be. It's meant to be. It was always meant to be. So I want to get back on the streaming schedule that I wanted to have when I first started streaming, which is 2 days on, 1 day off. Now, I don't know that I'll stick to that schedule, but I do know that I'll at least try, because it's a nice schedule to have. And why do I feel like... Hold on. I feel like... Yeah, this is pretty quiet. It straight up paused on me! I'm sorry for the sudden burst of sound. But I have this playing so we can have background music. Hold on. Let me try to hear myself again for a moment. I'm sorry for the sudden burst of sound. Okay, yeah. It's back on. I like having music playing in the background whenever I'm doing anything. Whenever I'm playing, I normally like to have music in the background. And I don't normally listen to lo-fi, but it's pretty chill. You know, lo-fi is meant for the chill vibes. So I linked in the description where I found this lo-fi, and I have it set to loop, so I don't know why the fuck it would pause on me like that. I've just been talking here with you guys having to only listen to my voice. I'm sorry. Jeez. I didn't expect YouTube to do me dirty like that. Frickin' A. So, I want to talk about my Aya experience, because I didn't go into as much detail as I wanted to in the other lives. I don't think I did. My memory's always been shoddy, so forgive me if I repeat myself. So when we first got there, I was there pretty freaking early. I'm pretty sure I was the first one dropped off, and they brought me to my room and had me sit down in there, and I was just chilling there for a while, just kind of doing my own thing, unpacking a bit, you know. And then after some time, I finally got the courage to come out of the room that they'd given me for a bedroom, which was one of the bedrooms that was like on the main floor, which was nice. So I get out into the group area, and I've always kind of been like a socially anxious person. Like, anytime there's a group thing, I'm just kind of like normally scared, trying to hide in the corner, right? So the spot that fate decides to have me sit in is a spot where pretty much anyone can see me. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll live with this. I'll live with this decision. Because I didn't want to be like, no, I'm gonna sit in the corner and hide. I didn't want to be that guy. Just argumentative about the thing. Because it my first time there, and I was just like, oh, well, just go with the flow, right? So I get there, I take my seat, and there's other people there by this point. Like, I had spent that much time chilling in my room. And because of my social anxiousness, I'm not really one for conversations with people that I don't necessarily know. And I'm realizing it might be helpful to bring the mic a little closer. Anyways, so I'm not really one for conversations with people I don't really know. And I didn't really know much of anyone there. Like, the organization I go to, they have a group messaging place that you can message the entire group, or you can get in contact with someone personally. I've never really been one to reach out. And that's on my whole social anxiousness. So for the most part, I was just kind of chilling in my seat, you know. And then after some time of us all sitting around kind of chatting and stuff, that's when they decided to start the ceremony. And in the beginning of the ceremony, they do what's called a flower bath, where like, they brought us outside 2 at a time, and I was one of the first to go outside, I think because it's my first time. And they gave me a flower bath, and because of how shoddy my memory was, I didn't even remember fully what they did for the person who went right in front of me, who had gone to multiple Ayah ceremonies, she told me. So I mistakenly thought they were done before they were actually done, and a flower bath isn't necessarily like a full tub bath, by the way. It's more so there's a bucket of water that flower petals are in, and they pour it on your head with blessings and all sorts. And so after that, the reason they do it outside is just so they don't get inside wet, which is understandable considering we were at someone's cabin. So it's very possible they were living there and just letting us rent the place for the weekend. So after the flower bath, we go back inside. And we're just kind of chilling for a little bit. And then they bring around something called hepe, which, for anyone who doesn't know, is something that they put into this tube thing that they can then shoot up your nose. And it's supposed to help with, like, purging out your sinuses. And it... For me, I've always been someone who tries my best to hold everything in. I don't know why. It could be a trauma thing, but I've always tried my best to hold things in. Because I remember I used to cry a lot as a kid. But, you know, after crying so much, you kind of figure out that your crying isn't going to be tended to in a way that you feel matches the amount of emotion that you're going through. So at a certain point, I started holding everything in. So when it comes to hepe, like, the idea of, like, letting go of so much emotions that are, like, clung on to by the tears, it was difficult to let go. So the first night I didn't, because I wasn't sure how. Same for my first experience with hepe, when I had gone to a ceremony with, I believe was Cambo. I want to say it was Cambo. I'm sorry, the music is just going so hard. I need to turn the volume down a little bit. It's good, but it's going too hard. So I've never really been good at just giving up and giving in to allowing myself to feel emotions. I tell everyone else, like, hey, it's okay to feel emotions, but then at the same time, I don't give myself the same grace. So when it came to hepe the first night, I just dealt with it like a champ. Everyone else thought, but it's more so because I struggle with letting go. And then they came around with, I think, sage, incense, sage. And then I don't fully remember the entire ceremony. I'll be completely honest. It's been a little while, so my memory of it could be shoddy. But they did these rounds where, like, one staff member would bring around one thing, another staff member would bring around another. And, excuse me, they decided to basically, when it came to the ayahuasca servings, I got, like, a front row seat of how, like, that works. Which I had admitted to researching it possibly a bit more than I actually did. I knew that ayahuasca was really 2 ingredients in a cup. But I didn't, I guess, fully know everything of what we were going to be doing. Because, again, research can only help so much. when you're going into a new situation. So, that being said, at a certain point, we were all standing up, and we all kind of did this group cheers with our glasses. They were clay, like ceramic kind of glasses. They were small, kind of like, I would say like a size of a shot cup, but like double. And the dude who was leading the ceremony, Steven, he kind of used the analogy of it being like nature's chocolate milk, which for me helped with getting it down. Because, you know, chocolate milk tastes good. Ayahuasca, no offense to Aya, just the taste can be overpowering. So we all drank our glasses, and they had little spoons, which they had said were like a new addition to their ceremonies, because I guess before they were kind of like, okay, start with your finger, but now they have little spoons. So that was kind of cool. So we all kind of did a little clink, 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 clink with the spoons. So then, after we all kind of drank it, they had also handed out peppermints before we drank. Gabriel and Hatsune Miku. Oh, the screen said 219. Yeah, I gotta get to 225 to ascend. I'm nearly there. 84 years since last been on your stream. Dude, it's been so long since I even streamed in general. I had to get a new PC and everything. I was talking about it earlier on stream. But yeah, my old PC was literally dying. I cannot exaggerate enough the fact that it was literally dying. It was 6 years old. It was 6 years old and dying. You know, at least it got into first grade, but still. So, as I was saying about the ayahuasca experience, they gave us all peppermints because you're supposed to drink it and let it sit in your system. If you need to send, just go find a legendary truck from those anime. Bro, it'd be so nice to. Shit, I can do it now. So they gave everyone peppermints because they were like, you need to keep it in your system for a certain amount of time. Where the fuck do I go to ascend again? Do. You need to keep it within your system for a certain amount of time so that ayahuasca can start doing her work. I found it. And once, like, she's in you for long enough, then you can maybe puke. But it's like, the thing is, a lot of people think ayahuasca is like the puking drug. She's not. The way that spiritual medicines work is, that's a spiritual entity and you're just getting on their level. You're too low of a level. They need you to get on their level to start working with you. I can go to the glowstone mine. Let's go. So once you're on that level, that's when that's when people start kind of like seeing shapes and colors. There was this one guy there who, when Steven, the director of the ceremony, asked if anyone wanted a second cup, he was like, I don't even know when you are! And that was the funniest shit. Because at this point, everyone had gone through, like, purging so much negative emotions. Like, when Aya first started hitting for me, the first question that popped to mind was, if you ever seen the second Harry Potter and seen that moment where Neville got brought up by those pixies to the chandelier, and he's like, why is it always me? I basically asked her the same question. And after I asked that, I just started crying my eyes out. And ayahuasca basically got all types of negative entities away from me. And I was my inner kid, and she held me and hugged me. And she was giving me the kind of comfort that I don't know that I've really felt. And it was nice. So then when Steven's like, hey, who wants a second cup? And the dude's like, I don't even know what you are. It was the comedic relief. You know? So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go for a second cup. And I kind of have this tendency whenever I get really high up there to start channeling. So after I have the second cup, I start channeling Aya. And this woman next to me she was supposed to be part of the staff, but she had basically volunteered herself as the quote-unquote sacrificial lamb of the ceremony. Basically, she was going to be feeling a lot, and she was. Excuse me. So, when I started channeling Aya, just immediately started comforting her. And it's like, I don't even know her like that. Like, I'm new to the organization that does these types of ceremonies. So I don't even know her like that. I don't even really message in the group chat to know her like that. But Aya was just channeling through and comforting her. Like, rubbing her back, letting her know, like, it's okay to have emotions. That's the human experience and that kind of stuff. And it felt nice to allow Aya to comfort this woman. So then, after some time, Steven, the director, Steven and Chris are both directors. They're like co-founders, I think. But Steven knew how to serve the ayahuasca, which is why he was the one leading the ceremony. After some time, he's like, who wants thirds? And I accidentally call him Chris. And I don't know how to apologize for that. It is so cringe. Because I was slowly coming down, and I didn't think when I was speaking, and Chris had handled my other ceremony. And I don't know how to apologize for that. So, I got my third cup, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go home the next day or not, because I had talked about it with my mom and brother, and for some reason, the way that they write the dates in the email to, like, confirm that you're going, made it almost seem like I would be going home the next day. So, I decided with the third cup, I need to ask Aya about what to do about my situation going forward. She gave me advice to stream more, to rearrange my bedroom, to start bringing Bubby on walks. Bubby is our dog, and he looks like a big burrito, and he's a very good boy. And For a short time afterwards, I was doing really good on that. Okay? But I'm getting ahead of myself. I haven't even explained what day 2 was like. So at the end of night 1, the staff helped me back to my room because when you're on Aya, you get all wobbly and stuff. What kind of dog is Bubby? He's like a mutt. He's a combination of things. He kind of looks like a pit bull, kinda. But that's more so, like, in the face. But he's not mean at all. He's a sweet guy. Pomeranian, German Shepherd. I don't know. He's literally a mutt. Bubby is a rescue. He was abused by his family. We're not sure if it was his family in the south or if it was some kind of family he had up here. But he has a literal scar on his neck from just being tied up all day. So when we first got Bubby, he was very much, like, afraid to, like, any physical contact. But now he understands that, like, if I'm gonna bring my hand close to him, odds are I'm giving him a head pat or, like, a rub of some kind. Part of what confirmed for me that Bubby was abused is because after I got back home, I started connecting with him on some kind of spiritual, psychological level. I'm not entirely sure. So, anyways, the first night ended with the staff helping me back to my room. And I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to sleep in a place that I'm not fully used to being in. So I was in this bed just uncomfortable. And at a certain point, I just decided to sleep on the floor. Because I've slept on the floor at numerous places before. I've slept on the floor at hotels, at other people's houses. You know, it's just something that I'm more used to than sleeping on a bed. So I slept on the floor. The next day, sounds like the dog liked your vibe so much, you both kind of just hung out. Yeah. So the second day, the start of the day was pretty chill. And then my mom showed up, and I explained to her, like, everything that had happened the first night, and that, the co-director, Chris, said that I would be there for 2 nights, so she could just go home. And there were certain things that I explained about that, are kind of triggering, but more so, like, I've gotten over it to the point that I can talk about it, but it's the kind of stuff that I don't know that YouTube's TOS would allow. You know, that kind of shit. So then that's how I found out about fetal possession, which I've talked about on stream before, where someone could get possessed as a fetus if they're... Hold on. I want to do these keys. Someone could get possessed as a fetus if they're, like, carrier, I guess is a good way to put it, gets in an unsafe situation where harm could happen to either them or the child or both. And Aya basically confirmed for me that that's my life purpose, to come to educate people about, because it is a spiritual warfare tactic that affects many people, but that in order to educate people about something, you have to go through the hardships of that something. You know, you can't just like say, oh, it's so hard to be a paraplegic when you're not missing anything. Right? So it was eye-opening in the extent of getting confirmation for things that I had already figured out, that so many people just didn't want to hear about, because it sounds insulting. You know, when I try to tell my mom this stuff, she felt like I was blaming her, when it's not even her to blame, it's the situation around her. Which, people can't help the situations that are around them. People can only help how they react to the situations, and not everyone is going to react in a way that they're consciously aware of all the possibilities of the consequences of their actions and reactions. So it's not something to blame anyone for. It's more so something to stay mindful of whenever, like, pregnant, I guess. And I was just like, well, shit. Guess I should be talking about this more, so that people... The thing is, people need to become aware of it, because one of the defining traits is a lack in ability to trust. If you can't trust anyone, that's because in the very beginning parts of your development, you couldn't even trust the safety of the womb that you were in. Which some people would say sounds crazy. But those some people are the kinds of people who don't want to listen to the reality of spiritual warfare. I remember I was in a psych ward around a year ago at this point, and I tried to explain to them how spirits interact with people and how spiritual warfare affects people interaction. And this one woman just did not want to hear it, because she felt like it meant that I was trying to say that she was possessed, which to an extent, yes, but also not offensively. Because in every body, there is the original soul that is meant to be there, and there is a chance of something that is not supposed to be there. It's not something that most humans are consciously aware of, because not most humans are on the level to be consciously aware of it. And that's not to say get on my level, but that's to say there's a certain awareness. I've missed the fact that I can go ascend. There's a certain awareness that comes from just being spiritually aware of the consequences of all types of actions. Because if you're aware of the spiritual side of things, then you can more betterly I don't think betterly is a word, but it fits. You can more betterly, like, just make sure that you're staying safe and you're keeping those around you safe. So that being said, I don't necessarily know that a cross is the best symbol, just because the cross is the representation of the symbol of death. It's no offense to the Christian doctrine. It's just that it's just the like symbol that they're teaching is a symbol of death. The symbol of life is the Ankh, which is like a cross, but the top part is more round. It's like a circle, not just a straight line. That's a symbol of life, whereas the cross is death. And it kind of makes sense, considering Christianity is like, oh, you know, praise the martyrs who died for their cause. You know, Christianity upholds martyrdom above all else. So it makes sense why they would have the symbol of death be their symbol. Anyways, side tangent, I know. So the second night, I get to the circle we're doing ayahuasca in, and with the first cup, I honestly was just kind of like, okay, I went through purging a bunch of the trauma with the very first cup the night before. So I want to get rid of the anger attached to that trauma. And the way that ayahuasca works is, if you've ever heard of the idea of joined consciousness, ayahuasca works on that. So if, say, someone's trying to get rid of a super strong emotion, like I was, but probably isn't mature enough to handle it on their own, like I was, then she'll hand the emotion over to someone else to process through. And unfortunately, it was the same woman who was next to me that I was comforting in ceremony the night before, because I had channeled Aya and she started comforting her. Listening while playing Pokemon Friends, game where you play mini games and win yarn, make Pokemon plushes and give to NPCs, decorate a room. Nice. So, for some reason, Aya decides to give this woman so much rage that I had to process through, because she's a staff member at the organization. So I just hear her like growling and grunting furiously, and I'm just there like, oh shit, she got my anger. I need to figure out how to just let it go, right? Because at a certain point I realized the only reason the anger's continuing for her is because I'm still holding on to it to an extent. And I'm like, I need to figure out how to let it go. So after just kind of talking with Aya about it, I come to a realization that the anger is more so because of the lack of justice and the lack of closure about different things. Which, you know, most people would want closure. Most people would want justice. So it's a very understandable anger. But at the same time, it's not an anger that's beneficial to hold on to. So I was like, well, shit, okay. Get away from me then, you know? So then the anger was gone just before Steven asked if anyone wanted a second cup that night. And I was like, yeah, sure. Because I wanted to know, now that the anger's gone, what now? You know? So I get my second cup, and another staff member, she let me know that they're setting up a fire out in the back of the house. And she asked if I wanted to go and sit by the fire, because a lot of people in the organization, like a lot of staff members, they say that being with Aya and sitting by a fire is like a super magical experience. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go sit by the fire. So I get up, and some of the staffs, they help me stand up, and I go over to the like dining room area of the house to just kind of like wait there idly. You know, NPC idle animation. But I was kind of dancing to the music they had playing because I was like, hey, I have no more of the anger. This is nice. You know. So I'm just kind of chilling, dancing there until they say like, okay, we got the fire's all ready for you to come and sit down at. So I'm like, all right, cool. And so we get down to the fire, and I look in the fire, and my first reaction is to finally puke. I finally did it. I finally threw up at the ayahuasca ceremony. And one of the staff, she comes over to me and she's like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. You know, and she's like, oh, okay. And the thing is, they have everyone carry around a puke bucket when you're on ayahuasca because it can just kind of happen, and it's better to let it happen than to hold on to it. So the staff member, she was nice. She took the bucket away and she gave me like a new one as like a just in case kind of thing. So I take my seat around the fire, and everyone else kind of sits on the opposite side of the fire, and I'm just chilling there looking at it. And then I start getting this temptation to burn the house down. And I'm just there like, bruh. Bruh emoji. Because it's like, the thing is, if I burn the house down, that would be ruining the experience for everyone there. You know, that would be murder. That would be all types of things. You know. So I just logic my way out of the temptation. I'm like, I'm not going to burn the house down. That would be so many lawsuits on top of so many funerals. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And so after a while of just kind of like logicking out this temptation to basically be like, I'm not going to ruin this for everyone because I feel like I want to burn the house down. After a while, Steven shows up with a couple other staff members, and he's like, okay, we're kind of wanting everyone to come back into the house for the closing ceremony, which the closing ceremony is done both nights, of everyone just kind of hanging out, chilling out, being best friends, being best buds. And they kind of want everyone there for it, like, both times. So I'm like, perfect. Get me away from this fire. Get me away from this temptation to burn the entire place down. So I get up and I start walking towards the house, but I'm so up there from Aya that I'm just stumbling, and there's like most of my group had like that was sitting around the fire had gone back up to the house by this point, so I'm just kind of like stumbling up this hill. And then another group of people who are also there for the ceremony, they had like wandered off to look for someone who had wandered off before. So they found the person, and then they found me just kind of like trying to stumble up this hill. And they're like, hey, AFG, you need some help? And I'm like, I don't know. And then they're like, you need help, come on. And I'm like, okay, you got me. So we're all just linking arms while going up the hill, which it was very good help. I regret being so prideful as to think that I wouldn't need the help, because it helped a ton. So we make it up the hill, and we get to the steps of the house, and I'm struggling so much that I just am like holding on to this one guy to help me up the stairs. So why can't I sprint? My sprint button. I think it's working. So get up to the house, get back inside, and I get back to my seat, and we're all just kind of chilling, and this one song comes on, and it would be so nice if the group made like a Spotify playlist. I don't know if they did, and I haven't asked in the group chat. I've never really been one for reaching out in DMs or group chats or anything. Like, someone else has to start the conversation, and with how many people are in that group chat, it's like someone needs to like call me out specifically, or I just won't say anything. Like, I'll read through it to be like, oh, what's going on, you know, stay updated. But I'm not the kind of person to just, like, shoot a message in there, you know? So we get back into the ceremony room, which is the living room of this house. I get in my seat, and we're all kind of, like, chilling with this one song, and I realize everyone else is kind of singing along to it. And that's how I know that, like, oh, everyone else here knows the song except me. Like, that's why I say it'd be so nice if they had, like, a Spotify playlist that they could link. Or, like, even a YouTube playlist of these songs. I think I saw that they did have a Spotify playlist on Chris's laptop, but I just didn't ask about it. So from there, like, everyone's just singing Kumbaya, right? And I try to sing along once I start recognizing the patterns in the song itself, but it's not like I really understand much of the song, because it's in a different language. So I'm just kind of, like, mimicking syllables, if anything, for the most part. So then either Steven offered third cups before coming to get all of us, or he's just like, we're not doing third cups. I don't fully remember. I think he said something about it, but I don't fully remember. So then I'm kind of sitting there, and I'm trying to reconnect with Aya because I'm back in the main room. And I'm just there like, what the fuck happened out there with the fire? You know? She lets me know that everyone has to go through some form of temptation that they let go of in order to move on from whatever caused the temptation in the first place. And there was a lot of anger that I had that made me want to burn down the house that I had grown up in because of my situation growing up. I was like, well, shit. You know, thanks for helping, I guess. It's a weird way of helping, but thanks, you know. Like, I didn't expect that form of help to happen, but it did. And I wasn't about to not be grateful for the help, you know. So then I just kind of start rocking back and forth as kind of like bowing over and over as thanks. Because the first night I had seen her standing in the middle of the room, so I knew she was in there. So I was just bowing over and over as thanks, for like all these helpful lessons to get past so much shit. And I was also just glad that I stayed there for the second night, because I would have missed out on that kind of lessons. So then, after that's all said and done, there's this one woman who comes over and she sits by me, and we're just kind of talking for a while. And I explained to her how my life purpose is to come and to educate about fetal possession, and I explained to her what fetal possession is. And she tells me that everything that I'm saying sounds familiar to her for some reason. And keep in mind, I hadn't told anyone at the, like, group much about what I was telling this woman. So for her to find it familiar, that just kind of meant something spiritually between us. And we were just like, man, what if we were meant to meet in this life for some reason or another, you know, for this lesson to be taught and learned so that people could be more aware of what's possibly causing them issues. So then, after a while of chatting, it gets to be like 1 a.m. The staff are putting the food away, and we're like, wait, shit, we didn't eat anything for dinner. Keep in mind, I hadn't really been eating there in general, so I'm like, shit. You know? So we both get up, and we go over to the kitchen, and there's one staff member there who's, like, starting to put things away until we're both like, hey, we didn't eat anything, could we have some scraps? She's like, yeah, sure. So I end up having like these beans, and then like having some chips and having the beans as like a dip, even though the beans were very clearly not a dip. And then I have this banana chip that I like dump into some kind of hummus, and that tasted really fucking good. I had like an almond. I had a banana, I think. Just various like small scraps throughout the kitchen I had. And then I went to bed. So the next day, everyone was still kind of feeling it a little bit because, Aya kind of stays in your system for a while. Also, excuse me. I don't know if that caught, but excuse me. Aya kind of stays in your system for a while. So, we were all just talking about it in the group circle, and I was just practically elated, because Aya had given me the strength to basically tell any negative entities to fuck off. Because I was so done. I realized like what was going on years ago, but I just never spoke up about it. I ended up making an entire OC to try and explain the concept somewhat to Nate at one point, but the explanation didn't really go well, considering the entities added in their own fucking notes and shit that just made it seem worse than it actually was. Looking back on it, because one of the things they tried to add in was like, oh, a cure would mean having to go through surgery of the entire body, when it's like, no, I have helped get rid of them pretty quickly, pretty much right away, in fact. So yeah, there's just little shit like that. So that next morning, we all just kind of wake up, we do this little like remission after each of the ceremonies, like the next morning, to be like, okay, what was your experience like, And I didn't know whether or not I should say anything about the temptation to burn the house down. It felt so awkward to be like, yeah, I almost burned the house down last night. So I just didn't, I didn't bring it up because that was one thing that I was like, how do I bring this up? You know? I also realized I'm mining in the wrong fucking spot. I'm mining in a lesser area. No! 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 So, I don't know if you've seen Steven Universe, but I was just imagining that part in the early season where he's got that mirror and it's just screaming, no! Over and over. So anyways, as I was saying, the next day we all gather around, we talk about our experience, and we're all, like, singing Kumbaya, and I, like, realized, like, this is the first time I'm properly feeling like myself. This is great. I leveled up too quick. I didn't realize I could ascend. Like, I feel great. This is awesome. And then, so, I made the wrong turn. So then, everyone takes a group photo, and that photo exists with me somewhere on the internet, which is why I'm not saying what organization it is, because I don't like when people necessarily know what my face looks like. I know that's like a pet peeve thing, but I don't. You know, it's like, if I can't know what my face looks like, then why is it fair for you to know what my face looks like? You know, considering also that, like, mirrors don't necessarily show you correctly, it's just one of those things where I'm like, But how about you don't know that? You know, how about that instead? So I'm not gonna say what organization it is. And considering, Pink, you live, like, on a whole different time zone, you probably wouldn't even necessarily benefit from them. Like, I know there's one guy who attends certain ceremonies that lives in your time zone, but he, like, has to fly in every time. So, I don't know that you'd have the money for airfare. I don't want to assume. So, basically, also, hold on, is chat updating on the stream, like, on the actual video itself? Is that updating? Is it not? That'd be really disappointing if it's not. I'd really like to know if it is. Hold on. Shit. It's not updating, no! I tried so hard and lost it all in the end, it didn't even matter. Shit. This is so sad. No chat messages. Damn, that's fucked up. I wanted it to show chat messages. Oh well, I can't be bothered to turn that off in OBS. So it's just gonna sit there and be a failure of... be a proving cornerstone of my failures. I still have so much to learn. Dude, Aya basically taught me the whole meaning of the learning curve, okay? I thought I knew so much, and she was like, no, you don't know literally anything. So I've been having to learn from scratch. She gave me some tips and tricks, but, I'm having to go from scratch, and it's hard to go from scratch when you don't know. So... after everyone sang Kumbaya and did the group photo, that's when they were like, okay, everyone can start heading home now. But here's the thing. I don't have a driver's license. So I didn't drive myself there. So that means I had to wait for a family member to come pick me up, which thankfully like my mom knows how to drive, and my brother, who's been on some streams, Leon, he knows how to drive. So I was just there like, okay, I know odds are someone's gonna come pick me up, right? So I'm chilling there, and I get on the Wi-Fi because Chris had given it to me the first night, and I'm just like messaging to try and figure out like my ride situation, and that's when Leon sends me voice memos to say that basically he's on his way, but he can't respond with text because he's actively driving. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. So, but he lets me know like he'll be there at about noonish, which I think, if I remember right, was literally the time that I had to be gone from there from, at about. So I just start messaging with Nate, because I'm just like, fuck it, I'm connected to the Wi-Fi, I might as well. So we're just texting for a while. And then, as soon as I messaged him that, like, oh, I'm gonna go sit outside and wait for Leon. And I put my phone away. I gather all my shit, because I didn't see him pull up at all. I gather all my shit. I go out, and I'm like the last person to leave. So they're like, oh, bye, UFG, like, have a good time, you know. And I'm like, yeah, bye, guys, you know, to the staff, because they basically stayed behind to, like, clean up the place after everyone. So, as soon as I get outside, Leon's pulling up in the driveway. And I'm like, this is too perfectly timed. I go out to the car, I throw my shit in there, and I hop in, and we start driving home. And we stop at a gas station on the way back, and I got myself an egg salad sandwich. I was like, this is awesome. I think I also got myself a water too. Anyways, so we get home, and Bubby can tell that there's a difference going on with me, but a good one. So he wants to hang out right away. And I'm like, Bubby! You know? Bubby, good boy! He can hear me right now. I think. So I just hang out with him. And after a while, I don't know why I do this, but I do this. I have my hand resting on his head, and I start meditating. You know, I close my eyes, I start taking slow, deep breaths with my hand resting on his head. And while I'm doing this, after like a few minutes or so, I start getting these visions. Okay, the first one is being small and scared, and these giant humans that look utterly terrifying. They look burly, they look like they want to hurt something or someone, and I get the feeling that they're gonna try to hurt me. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know? Just with that first one alone, right? But then the next vision I get is like sitting at a dining table, like on one end of the dining table, while everyone else is on the far other end. Like, it's a long dining table. Everyone else is on the far other end, and I'm just sitting alone. And then I come back from that. And I look down at Bubby and I realize he's trying to communicate some pretty big feelings. You know, he's trying to show how he feels in a way that, sure, he can't speak human, but he can at least, like, show visuals through whatever telepathic communication open up. So I just started bawling my eyes out. Because Bubby basically vented to me a whole bunch of shit that he'd gone through. And I was just there like, Bubby, no! You know, I was letting him know, like, you're safe now. You don't have to worry about big, scary humans. You know, the only humans here just want to give you head pats and love and care and affection. And he was crying too. But I think, like, me letting him know, like, he doesn't need to fear anymore has been helpful. Because since then, he hasn't been as anxious. And that's a good sign that, like, some kind of breakthrough happened, at least. And so, those following days, I stuck to the, like, advice that Aya had given me. But then I started to fall off. And I started to fall off because I started to get anxious. Because Aya was wearing off from my system. And, like, I knew it was bound to happen. But the birds want to start talking shit. I knew it was bound to happen. They're just shedding their feathers right now, but they pull them out themselves, and then they start squawking in pain, and then they go back to pulling their feathers, and they wonder why they're in pain. I don't know why they do this. I think it's just because it's the warmer season, so they feel like they need to shed. Anyways, so after some time, Aya starts to, like, wean down from my system, and I start getting anxious again. And it wasn't until literally this fucking morning that I realized something that I'm pretty sure I mentioned it on a different stream, because it was in that world that I tend to stream on, which I like a dumbass did not have my normal world swapped over to this PC, so I'm gonna have to start a whole new world, and that means starting a whole new house and farm and everything, and it's fine, I'll live, it's fine. Anyways, so it wasn't until this morning that I realized I could do one thing that would help me out majorly. And it is the numbers 55515. Okay? The way that those numbers work is you're supposed to hold them to something on your body, like a body part that's in pain, and you say those numbers either aloud or in your head. And because it's calling on the power of 555, and then the 15, which is 15, which is, 5 times 3, which means it's the power of 5 multiplied by the power of the Trinity. It's a pretty overpowered number when you put it that way. So I realized I could do this to my aura field. I accidentally misclicked. I could do this to my aura field. And so I did that. Because I kind of was having a rough morning this morning. I'll be honest. different temptations have been coming at me left and right since doing Aya. And so I was like, shit, I can use this number to my advantage for the greater good. Because 55515 is about healing. So I did that. And it made the temptation go away. I do not know how. It just made it go away. I don't know which angel I called upon, but whoever it was made it go away. So then I was just chilling. I was like, shit. Recently I've been rewatching Maya Knight, which if you don't know what that is, it's a Minecraft SMP that got started back in 2014. I recommend watching Captain Sparkle's point of view because he paid attention to the storyline the most. But also I recommend Jericho's point of view because he had been there since the beginning and he was also making sure to be on daily, whereas Captain Sparkles would have some days off, especially in season 1. So yeah. I've been rewatching the series since coming back from Aya, simply because that series helped me. Tried getting into it. There were so many videos. Yeah, there are, but the thing is, the series at the moment is on like a super long hiatus, or it's just over. And the reason I say that is because they took a super long hiatus from season 2 to season -1. Only from Captain's POV. Jordan had his editor edit the videos up until the last third of season 2, where that's when he started his VODs channel. Is because people kept asking him to put on the replay for Twitch. So that's why his mods channel started. If you look at the earliest videos in his mods, or in his VODs channel, you know, Captain Sparkles too, you'll see literally the last third of Maya Knight season 2 episodes uploaded there, just unedited. It's crazy to know this kind of shit, because not everyone knows that. They're just like, oh, that's Captain Sparkles' VOD channel for when he live streams. It's like, okay, but do you know how it started and why it started? Oh. So I can ascend. I've not been paying attention. So I just started continuing watching my rewatch. Sorry, there's a minus season? Yeah, there's a -1 season that they did more recently. It's basically a prequel season that they did after the fact, and, half the original streamers aren't there. Jericho's not in season -1, because, there was... Okay, so the way that Maya Knight is laid out is there's Maya Knight season 1, then there's Trinity Island, then there's season 2, and then, there's the Mama's Boy animations, which add to the canon of the series. Like, there's one Mama's Boy animation where, it was the... I don't want to spoil it, because it spoils storyline stuff. But a lot of his earlier animations were for Maya Knight. And, Jordan's editor, Alex, also worked on Maya Knight stuff as, like, fan pieces, the same way Mama's Boy did. And the stuff that Alex did was he made a channel called Maya Knight Purge Highlights, where in the second act of season 1, they brought in the concept of doing a weekly purge, where it was basically inspired by the Purge movies. And so what Alex decided to do was he made these fan edits And consider, at the time, it was 2014. So a lot of the comedy is dated. He deleted that channel, but someone else on YouTube re-uploaded the content. So if you ever want to find out at least some of what was happening, that's kind of just like the tip of the iceberg kind of stuff. But yeah, there's certain animations that reveal a certain part about Captain Sparkles' character lore that it's just kind of stuff that most people forget to bring up whenever they talk about his character for some fucking reason. And it, as someone who is hyper-focused on it because of TISM, it's like, why do you forget about these crucial details about his character lore? No, the thing is, Captain Sparkles became, like, my favorite person to watch for the series just because of the fact that he paid attention to the storyline, which basically meant that he cared about the storyline that the behind-the-scenes people were trying to write, even if he fucked up at literally every single chance to make the best ending for the story. Like, I'm rewatching season 2 and I'm realizing, like, oh shit, they were trying to let the audience know that this character was gonna die before it ever got brought up in the series itself. Like, oh shit. You know, shit like that. And it's because of Captain Sparkles' actions. And he's just there, like, not wanting to take responsibility for it. And it's so fucking funny, because it's like, so much of the time, he actually is to blame. And he's just there, like, no, don't blame me. Blame someone else. But yeah, the minus season, it's supposed to take place before season 1. But for some reason, they bring in certain builds that come from season 2. Like, in the finale of the minus season. And to me, that kind of insinuates that the canon of Maya Knight is a time loop. Okay? My grand conspiracy is that Maya Knight is a time loop. Because of the fact that, like, I think there's a certain thing that happens at the very butt end of season -1. I don't want to spoil it in case you ever want to watch it, because Jordan was genuinely there for all 3 seasons. But there's something that he does at the butt end of season -1 that makes me think it's a time loop. You know, feel free to watch it in your own time, but it's wild. And there are a lot of dated jokes, especially in season 1 and 2, just because 2014, 2015 comedy. Trinity Island was a kind of filler season between season 1 and 2, like a filler arc. What Trinity Island was they decided to make a hardcore series just to keep their audience entertained in between seasons. And the reason Jericho is no longer part of Maya Knight, like, it's why he didn't join for season -1, is because in Trinity Island, he died in, like, an early episode. And everyone just memed on him for it. Keep in mind, he died to a creeper trying to mine for ores so that they could have armor which would defend them from creepers. Which, you know, the amount of online bullying he went through, it was not fair for what he was trying to do. And the way that they did it was they decided they were going to, like, record a bunch of episodes in one day, and so on and so forth. You know, the way that old school YouTube was, like, record a bunch of videos in one go and just edit them into different episodes, right? So, because of that, like, they basically revealed that he died in the first day, but they were so deep into the recording that they were like... that, Jericho was just like, oh, just keep going on with the save. And then he started his own spin-off series of Afterlife, which was basically him retrying at the Trinity Island goals just on his own. And people just kept giving him shit for the fact that he died early on. So basically speedrunning their little roleplay series. Yeah. It was a comfort series for me back when it was first coming out. So, like, I would just kind of watch it either after or before school. It just depended on what my sleep schedule was at the time. It's something I'd recommend if you want a nostalgia blast, just because they did so much shit that is just memey of the time. It's also just one of those things where it's like, there are so many jokes that if people went back and looked back at those jokes, they would be like, oh, cancel everybody! Everybody needs to be canceled! Also, in season 1 and 2, it was before YouTube came out with the no swearing policy. So you get to hear Captain just swearing at various points in the season. Or seasons. It's such a breath of fresh air to hear him just say fuck. You know, he doesn't say it anymore. He says fork. I don't know if I can binge watch. Well, dude, how many episodes there are in total? Yeah, that's fair. The thing is, it's kind of like you watch a few episodes at a time, and then you go about your day. It's not something that you can, like, binge watch, just sit down the entire time. Unless, for some reason, you're binge watching in a fucking bidet or something. Which, that's a whole nother thing. I don't fucking do that shit, but it'd be fucking funny if someone did. But yeah. Season 1 is edited, though. So it's easier to watch that. Season 2 is also edited. But then season -1, he just uploaded to his VOD's channel. He didn't even have it be edited. So it's... Don't know if I should only watch one person's POV or everyone's POV. The thing is that it's complicated because Mayanite is also, like, very much treated like factions. So, one person's storyline that they catch on their streams might be completely different from another person's on that exact same day. You know, they'll interact with each other, you know, they're not complete, like, against each other kind of factions. You know, they'll talk to each other and be decent. But also, they very much can have different storylines. Got into a few episodes of season 1, but then stopped because looking at all those videos. Captain alone. Yeah, that's real. That's fair. There's a lot to comb through. And the crazy thing is, I have seen just about every point of view of every episode. I know pretty much everyone's storyline in that series. So I could recommend who to watch for what season, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, what kind of content do you prefer? You know? Like, do you prefer the underdogs? Do you prefer the scandals? Do you prefer the storyline? Do you prefer chaos? Do you prefer, like, goofy shit? You know, it just depends. It's not necessarily a series that is easy to get into, but it's something that's done, which makes it at least easier to get into. Because there are some series where it's like, I see people making fan art and fan stories, but the series is still ongoing and it's been going for 7 seasons. And I'm just here like, I haven't seen a single episode. I go to try to watch an episode and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? You know, one of those things. Maybe a series of comics from the POV of everyone. Someone did try to actually do that. In the early days, someone tried to actually do that. It was, I don't remember their name, but they were on DeviantArt. They genuinely tried to do that. But it's just so, like, big of a series to try and get through. And also, I think part of the difficulty is that they had multiple different groups writing storylines at different times. It's like the meme of the guy walking into a room where something is burning and everyone's running around. Yeah, but the thing is, the fandom is, like, mostly dead. Most of the fans have moved on to different fandoms. But I'm still here. So, I just know certain shit about the series. There was also a fan series that got pretty big, that some of the behind the scenes for season 2 and season -1, like someone on behind the scenes team got in contact with them. And the craziest thing is, I modded for one of the people who did those streams. I didn't have Minecraft on PC at the time. They wanted to invite me to their version of a purge. And I was so sad because I didn't have a PC, so I couldn't join them. And then they tried to add me for a game of Cards Against Humanity, but I was playing on a phone, and it was on desktop. So I had to play, like, going through every single card, and I struggle with reading sometimes. It's why I'm not paying attention to the game chat, because I'm just seeing shit fucking zoom by sometimes. So, when you said the Phantom was dead, I thought it was a scene from SpongeBob where Mr. Krabs digs up a soda hat. Buried. He was number 1! Yeah, it's like that. I forgot to ascend again. But the fandom is fucking dead. The fandom is a corpse. Okay, and I'm just here rewatching episodes because the series genuinely helped me in a pretty dark point in my life, so, I'm just here, like, comfort content, you know? So, fucking, I'd recommend Captain's point of view for Season 1, Trinity Island, and Season 2, just because he had his editor on that. And then I'd also recommend Jericho's weekly edited content, because what Jericho would do was he would edit, like, how each week went. And he was on there basically every fucking day. So he basically had, like, a weekly highlight for anyone who didn't catch the streams kind of thing, or was too overwhelmed by the streams. And it was just from his perspective, so it's not like he's going through everyone else's perspectives to find their highlights too. He's more so just doing it for anyone who wants to see his point of view of things. And then for season -1, for the sake of watching edited, trimmed down content, I'd recommend Syndicate Project. It was Syndicate and Jericho who started the series in the first place, but in season 1, Syndicate just only posted his streams, and same for season 2. And one of those streams is 8 hours fucking long. You know, it's something that you put on like a weekend day and you just leave playing the entire fucking day. So there's that. I think that's like the longest episode there is. It's either 8 hours or 6 hours, but either way, it's long as fuck. And then I'd also like, I would recommend 16-bit Deck's point of view, but at the same time, he didn't really upload much. He was like the head of the storyline. Like, he would bring on different people to write different like parts of the story during different sections, but at the end of the day, if he didn't agree with the storyline, it wouldn't happen. He was basically the head dude of all of it. But he uploaded some videos. So it can kind of be seen as a behind-the-scenes thing. But at the same time, he didn't really post many behind-the-scenes content. There was a point where these two guys who worked on season 2 tried to make a behind-the-scenes content channel to try and explain like how everything worked from an admin point of view, but they didn't upload many videos either. So it was just kind of like, well, one of the guys who worked on that channel was Zine, which, you know, if you watch Captain Sparkles in recent years, you would know he plays with a guy called Zine. He met Zine because Zine was part of the behind-the-scenes crew of season 2. And it's... there's a funny moment where, like, because Zine was on the behind-the-scenes team, he would stay and /vanish for most of the time. But there was one point where he needed to show Jordan, like, how a certain machine worked, because in season 2 they played with mods. He needed to show Jordan how a certain machine worked because he was like, Jordan was basically trying to use more resources than necessary, and Zine was just there like, why is this guy wasting so much shit when it's so fucking easy? So he teleported Jordan to himself because he was like, I'm gonna show you how it's done. You can take notes or whatever, you know. And there's this one mod that lets you see a player's name without, like, if they're not showing their, like, nameplate above their head. And that's how we found out he's called Zine. And that's how their friendship started, was because Zine worked on the behind the scenes. Also, I think, like, because of the fact that the storyline is so very much, everyone's point of view tells a different side of the story. It's one of those things where it's like, it's worth watching the shortest version of it first, and then going to the other point of views to be like, okay, how did this happen from so-and-so's point of view? You know, it's worth looking through the quickest route and then dissecting the other routes. On one hand, I would recommend Nadeshot's point of view because there's certain aspects to the storyline that he goes through. Yes, I mean Optic Nadeshot. He was, for some reason, part of season 1. there's certain parts of his storyline that he goes through that get brought up in the other seasons. So it's worth watching, but also at the same time, in the moment, they tried to write it off. And the following writers were like, no, we're picking up that mantle and we're bringing it. There was this one writer who tried to, like, stream on the series. I think it was, like, the first, like, helper writer that 16-bit Deck let on the series. And he was called Kronos. And because he tried to stream without getting permission, they, like, kicked him off, and they got rid of the storyline he was trying to write. Which the other writers have just been like, no, we're following that storyline. We're bringing that shit back up. You can't escape this idea. But yeah, the crazy thing is my OCs at the time revolved a lot around the series. So if Nate ever watched the series, he would be like, oh yeah, this is where this character comes from. For a lot of my OCs. Which is kind of cringy, but it's just kind of like the idea of taking characters and, like, interpreting them different to how the storyline said or left as kind of like a guess to make about certain characters. And then there were these other writers who came on after Kronos. The immediate writers who came after him didn't necessarily want to continue his storyline because they didn't want to get kicked off. So the storyline that they made was... it was good at the time. You know, they put a lot of thought and effort into it. But one of the two who was working the behind the scenes of the storyline kind of went a bit crazy with the fame that was coming from writing these fictional characters in the series, and felt that he had a right to write season 2, which is understandable in a way, but he kind of went off the walls about it. Like when it was announced that they were working with a different team instead. So what he ended up doing was he set up the entire, like, storyline and made an entire channel to try and tell the storyline that he wanted to tell for season 2. And he only got a few episodes in because not as many people were watching it as he had hoped. So he lost the drive to continue making it, even though it could have been an interesting story. You know, it's one of those what if things, you know? It's like Disney's What If, you know, but just back in, like, 2015. For Mionite, for a Minecraft series. And then there was the lead writer for season 2. It got in controversy because of the way that he wrote further things for his character outside of the context of canon. He tried to make certain problematic relationships, and the way that he validated it was that he had felt similar ways. Not that he was into younger people, but he was into older people. And he tried to be like, oh, well, I had that perspective when I was young at that age. And it's like, bro... It's different when you're writing the older character who's supposed to be at the very least, according to what was written in the canon, at very least in like their 300s, at very least. At very oldest, I'm pretty sure one of the episodes mentioned that the character could be millennia years old. So it's like, bro, that's a little different. You know? There was also, in season 2, this one dude who was a behind-the-scenes actor for one of the characters. The way that My Night worked was very similar to QSMP in that they would have admins play characters that weren't able to speak to them verbally, but they would, you know, they would talk in the game chat, basically. One of the behind-the-scenes actors, no one knows where the fuck he went. He just went missing at a certain point during the shooting of season 2. So the way that they wrote it off was that his character was just on this never-ending mission until the very end of the season, when they realized, like, they can't just leave this loose end, so they had someone else act for him. And afterwards, they revealed, like, yeah, we have no idea where that guy is. If anyone knows about him, let him know that we miss him. And it's like, bro, what the fuck? There was... I'm trying to think of, like, everything that happened. There was an MMO that they had started for the series to basically let other people kind of play in a similar My Night storyline, which I'm pretty sure the MMO exists somewhere. I've seen another My Night fan play on it. I just haven't joined it personally. And they had paid for this animation to be as, like, advertisement, right? And for some reason, the person who made the animation said that he never got his financial compensation. And this dude was so, like, upset about it that he went to Keemstar over it. And so Keemstar got a hold of Syndicate Project to be like, hey, what's going on? You know, make the phone call, be on an episode. And Syndicate Project was just like, hey, I thought it was our lead writer who was going to be dealing with all that stuff. And the animator's like, no, I never got the money. So Syndicate's like, okay, well then, let's have a talk with him instead, not with Keemstar. Like, this doesn't need to be public. We could just deal with this in private, like it should have been. Like, why was Keemstar ever needed to be brought involved into the My Night universe? I don't know. And then, the thing is, the craziest part is, like, My Night in season 2, they tried to have, like, a gay couple, but there were people who tried to be like, oh no, this character's actually a girl, because they couldn't accept that it was a gay couple that they were trying to write into the series. There were so many people that were like, this character's a girl. At one point, someone subscribes to Captain Sparkles with that name as their Twitch account name. Like, yeah, this character is a girl. Even though everyone is literally saying that character is a guy. Even the actress who plays the character says that that character is supposed to be a guy. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, damn, people weren't really as accepting in 2015 as they are now. It's like a whiplash of like, man, there were some people who genuinely thought like that. And then, there was some other shit with the series. There is one guy who comes on for season -1, who, for some reason, even though he's a main character in the series, you know, for season -1, he wasn't there in season 1 or 2, but that gets explained in the finale of season -1. For some reason, he never uploaded any of his point of view to YouTube. I haven't found it, and it upsets me so much because I never caught any of his streams. And I would love to watch that just to see what happened, because he was literally, it was like his first time playing Minecraft, even though it was, like, they did it at the start of COVID. So it's like most people at that point had been playing Minecraft. But it was his first time playing Minecraft. So it's like, I would love to see what that looked like. You know? For a noob's perspective, to be thrown into one of the most intensive Minecraft roleplay series to exist. Because the thing is, they kind of say this in season -1, that My Night walked so things like Dream SMP could run. At the time, QSMP wasn't out. But you get the point. Like, the only reason those kinds of series really made it is because they took a lot of inspiration from Maya Night. The only difference is that Maya Night is more mythically inclined, whereas Dream SMP was very much about politics. That's literally the only difference. Other than that, it's the same exact shit. Just that Dream SMP had almost everyone live streaming, whereas Maya Night was a lot of behind-the-scenes crew. I'd also recommend the Wizards' point of view. The Wizards were Fire UK. They disbanded in recent years, but in season 1, they were brought on to be, like, hired construction workers. Because Fire UK, they were responsible for making the sets in some of Captain Sparkle's music videos, like Fallen Kingdom, and I think Take Back the Night, and just other videos like that. Spaced Out heard something about issue. Issue to be public. Yeah, there's many issues with Maya Night. I can't tell where you're at with the latency, so you're gonna have to let me know. But yeah, so Fire UK, they were brought on to basically, like, they could be paid diamonds in exchange for these buildings to be made. So Fire UK, they posted on their YouTube channel, like, the builds that they would make. You know, they do that back in the day, even, like, before they were brought on to Maya Night. So if you want to watch speed builds, one or someone try to get on Trauma Alert. Yeah, okay, so it was, someone was paid to make an advertising animation for Maya Night MMO, which is multiplayer online. And so they didn't get paid as quickly as they wanted to get paid. So they went to Keemstar about it. And so Keemstar brought on Syndicate and was like, hey, what's going on here? And Syndicate was like, hey, we can just talk about this privately. It doesn't need to be blown up. And the dude was like, but I want my money and I want it now. So he was like, okay, I can pay you. Just, you know, let me know what your bank details are. That's literally an episode of Drama Alert. Keemstar brought them both on a call and recorded it for everyone to hear and see. Um, which, the fact that Drama Alert is part of the My Night universe still is something that is crazy to me. Also, Charmin. Because they started the whole hashtag hard butt life. Hashtag hard butt life. They started that hashtag, okay? They started many hashtags, but hard butt life was one would have done that 50 first, and then... Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, they started the hashtag hard butt life, which got Charmin involved. They started so many hashtags when they were doing the series, but hard butt life is what got Charmin involved. Because Charmin was like, oh, why have a hard butt when you could have a soft butt? And I'm pretty sure one of the people on Maya Night got like at least a year supply of Charmin toilet paper out of that. Just because Charmin was like, oh, don't have hard butts, have soft butts instead. It was so fucking goofy. And then, toilet paper. Yeah, the toilet paper with the red bears. Yep, those motherfuckers. They got involved because the hard butt life. And it was because Syndicate didn't realize, that one song from, I think it's Annie, where she's like, it's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life for us. He thought she was saying hard butt life. Yeah. Don't know how he misheard that. And he didn't even get the name of the movie right when he tried to recall where he'd heard it from. Don't know how he managed that one. And then... Hold on. There's also the fact that, there's a lot of insinuations for how the story plays out, depending on who you watch. And that causes different people to favor different characters more than others. Like, one of my favorite characters, everyone else fucking hates him. And it's like, did they not pay attention to his backstory? Somehow that makes me and other people feel better to listen to a song without looking up the lyrics. Yeah, that's fair. But it's like, there's one character that I just love and adore because he's so fucking real about, like, the shitty hand he's been dealt and how he goes about it. Like, it makes, every one of his actions makes sense when you consider his perspective of the story. But everyone just fucking hates him. Even though he's been through, like, some of the worst shit. And I'm just here like, guys, he's one of my most favorite characters. And as soon as I admitted that, I got this weird feeling from other fans of the series, like they just hated me for hating him. Is he what the Tumblr users call a blorbo? Explain what a blorbo is, because I don't know what that term means. I need to know what something means before I confirm something. Yeah, I would make more fan contact of him and post it online, but at the same time, I know it'll just get me so much hate. It's a Tumblr term. What does it mean? I'm on Tumblr, but not like that. I need to know what it means. Also, hi, Bubby. Hello. Bubby's just laying down on the couch behind me. He's being a good boy. Yeah, I need to know what it means. Because he's genuinely one of the most, like, intriguing characters for how little he was shown on camera. A fictional character someone is fond of or obsessed of. I don't know that I'm obsessed with him, but he's just my favorite character of the series, even though everyone else hates him. Like, to everyone else, it might seem like I'm obsessed with him, even though it's more so that I appreciate the storyline that they went with him. Because there's certain things about his backstory that I don't want to spoil in case you ever watch it, for the sake of hearing Captain Sparkle say fuck. Urban Dictionary has a better definition. Bet. Let me look this shit up. Okay. Blorbo definition. Fictional character or celebrity who one is especially fond of. Yeah. I guess. But it's like no one else is. You know, no one else is fond of this dude. The definition from there says this person's favorite or beloved character. Yeah. But no one else likes this guy. Except for me. And I feel like the outcast in the fandom because of that. What'd he do? He did everything that he thought he was supposed to do, but that, like, okay, so the way that Season 2 storyline works is Season 2 is like a tyranny, right? There's this one guy who's in charge of everything and everyone else is just below him. And he's supposed to be this ruler over the kingdom that they start Season 2 in. Okay? He's supposed to be the king there. But at the same time, he's supposed to bow to whatever this tyrant says he's supposed to bow to, because the tyrant could literally snap his fucking neck. So he's doing everything he possibly can to be as morally good as possible while also staying alive. But the tyrant didn't come into power until, like, sounds like he might have been a victim of being gaslit, gatekeeped, and girl bossed. Yeah, very much so. But the thing is, the tyrant only came into power like 10 years before Season 2 is supposed to take place. So there's a time where it's like he was more of a decent king, and people are just like, oh, he was an asshole the entire time, and it's like, no. And the reason I say no is because there is a part later on in Season 2 where there is this thing that is supposed to show someone, like, they're supposed to go through their worst fears to get to, like, the best place ever. If they're around this thing for long enough, it kind of creates this illusion of what their best memories were, so that they get stuck living in it. The tyrant's named Karen by chance? Nobody was. Okay. So this dude had been king at this point because he got exiled to the Nether, and that's where he found this thing. So he had spent so much of the season with this false, like, reality of his dream, and when the streamers got to finding him, they found that his dream, like his heart's desire, was the simplicity that was before the tyrant came into power. Which I find is just beautiful. You know, it's like, at the end of the day, he just wants his family, and he wants to be happy with them. You know, at the end of the day, he wants his kingdom to be happy. He wants his family to be happy and alive, even though, half his family was tragically murdered. You know, and so many people overlook that episode for the sake of, oh, well, other important canon stuff happened, then that, and it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, he just wanted his kids to be happy, he wanted his wife to be happy, he wanted his family in general to be happy, and living in his kingdom, and all the good stuff in the world to happen. He didn't want any of the evil shit that the tyrant was trying to shove down his fucking throat. You know? But so many people are like, oh, fuck that guy. Because there are certain actions of his that go in towards the whole, like going with what the tyrant said. But it was simply because he didn't want to fucking die. He didn't want to leave his only remaining child an orphan. So, you know, can you really blame him? I don't know. Like, sure, I thought the Minite fandom wasn't toxic. Another point to all fandoms are toxic, Tally. Yeah, dude, you would... Okay, the Minite fandom is actually horrifically fucking toxic, okay? I remember when the last remaining fans made a fan series, and there was drama between the writers. And I don't know if I should be saying this on stream, because I don't know if that individual could be watching this at some point in the future, but I'll just say it anyways, because everything needs to come to light eventually, right? The other people, the other writers who had drama with this one specific writer, made a Discord specifically for everyone else. So toxic put Steven Universe and Undertale fandom to shame. Yes, they made a Discord specifically for everyone else to join, and they straight up told me, like, hey, don't let this person know that we have this Discord. And I'm just there like, what the fuck is going on? It's very exclusionist. I don't know how to say it right. But it's very much like, if you don't agree with what I think is right, then fuck you. Even though the entire series, like, the factions, there are 2 out of 3 factions that are designed to not get along. Make that shit make sense. I don't get it. I don't. There are fans that will literally cancel other fans just because they don't get along. The amount of that kind of shit that you see in the Minite fandom is what makes it toxic. If you don't, it's the whole mentality of, if you don't agree with my interpretation of the story, then fuck you. You can't be a real fan because you don't agree with what everyone else thinks of the storyline. And I'm just here, having seen almost every single point of view, every episode. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Made a server and excluded someone? Yeah. Yeah. Because they weren't getting along. It didn't make any sense to me. And there was one person who was trying to defend that person. I personally didn't really know the behind-the-scenes team like that, so I wasn't saying either way. But there was one person who was on the behind-the-scenes team trying to defend that person that they were excluding. That person got the same fucking treatment. I don't understand it. I don't. I genuinely don't. It's like, why have arguments with people when you could just try and come to a calmer understanding. Like, if the conversation is getting heated, then acknowledge that you need a time to have a break from the conversation and then come back to it at a later time. That just makes so much more sense. If I had an original story and someone wanted to make some changes to it that wouldn't change the story at all, be happy to encourage them. Yeah. Excuse me. There is so much shit that so many fans are just like, oh, my version of the story is better. Like, I know there's, like, people out there who, like, have certain, mental disorders that allow certain characters to live in their heads, because I once had said mental disorder, and I, basically made that not be a thing anymore. But the way that their brains interpreted certain characters and certain interactions, well, I get that it's an expression of their own experiences, also means that they refuse to understand the storyline from the opposing character's perspective. Which makes it very difficult to try and explain to them, like, no, this character's actually pretty decent when you consider their point of view of the story. You know, My Night is all about watching from someone's point of view, you know? A lot of the fandom is like, oh, whose point of view did you start watching? So, the whole notion of trying to be like, oh, well, I started watching from so-and-so's point of view, but refusing to understand the, like, character storyline point of views is kind of where I get turned off from certain fan interactions. Because that just means that they don't care about the storyline that the story team was trying to make. They just thought that certain characters were cooler than others. Or they just related more to certain character struggles than others, and they refused to try and see it any different. Which, I get it. It's not easy to see the point of view of someone who's causing damage, but at the same time, hurt people, you know? Getting mad at something a fan wants to make is just gonna discourage them from ever trying experimenting with art styles, panels, designs, etc. Yeah. It just kind of creates this whole cycle of like, oh, well, I don't like how a villain was written because a villain did evil things, so I'm just gonna write a bunch of good guys. You know, it completely... If all you write is good guys, then there's no bad guys for them to overcome. You know, it's... I don't know. I'm just telling all this Maya Knight drama. But yeah, it's... The way that the fandom works is so iffy, even still. Enjoy characters that are either relatable or have an interesting backstory. It makes me see them as someone I might like. Yeah, it makes more complexity to them, too. You know, it makes them more real. Rather than just a, like, story stereotype. Because the way the character that I like the most works, and operates in the story, like, there's a point where other characters that he's supposed to be, like, relatives of clearly have a hard time saying goodbye to him. Because they saw him as family. You know, they understood that, like, yeah, sure, what he did was sometimes sketchy, but he was doing it because he thought he had to. And a lot of the fandom doesn't get that. see toxic fandoms as legs that don't show the bottom. And when you decide to check it out, let's see the hoarders and stuff. Yeah. I've been in the fandom since it started. I've just been quiet for the most part. Like, I'm quiet in most social settings. Like, in a conversation, I'm not normally the first to talk, which is, you know, live streaming helps with that because it's kind of like, well, I gotta talk. You know? It's exercising my throat chakra, if you will. When I'm not streaming, I'm normally, like, very quiet socially. And only really loud if I'm around people that I know to a certain degree. You know, if I'm with a group of people and there's one person there I don't know that well, I'm not gonna make the same amount of jokes as I would with just a group of people that I know. I don't know if that's a me thing or not. But yeah, so I've getting an idea for a webcomic just from you yapping about mine. That's fair. But yeah. A lot of the story is like very sparse throughout the episodes. And that's because like they wanted to make the seasons long. And I don't know if that's because they wanted to drag it out or if that's because they acknowledged that the players who were streaming needed time in between storyline bits in order to like get their shit together for being prepared for what's coming next kind of thing. But a lot of the episodes, for the most part, are very much of just them playing the game. Especially like when they're like just posting their streams and not editing it, because the whole editing it means that they're just showing only the storyline bits. It doesn't mean that they're showing literally any of their mining or grinding for XP. There's one moment in particular in season 1 that's really funny when Captain Sparkles and Jericho both go to enchant their bows after getting to level 30 after filling Syndicate's house with chickens. And they both get, like, the shittiest enchants for it being level 30. This was back in 2014, so it's like, whatever, you know, it didn't let you know on the enchantment table what you were gonna get. And so because they both got the shittiest enchants possible, they built a middle finger out of TNT and blew those bitches up. And Mama's Boy made a fan animation of that. If you ever want to watch it, it's really good. A lot of the fan animations that Mama's Boy made were just genuinely highlights of the series, but specifically from Jordan's point of view. I think Mama's Boy was a Jordan enjoyer. Because there weren't many of his animations that came from others' point of view. I think the only reason he went to others' point of views was for the sake of, like, possibly getting better audio quality through for the animation itself, rather than seeing their point of view for, like, their point of view. That's just my own conspiracy about Mama's Boy. And then Midnight Purge highlights genuinely went through every point of view of the Purge and, like, the Purge days, and tried to line them up as much as possible to have the highlights be in as consecutive order as possible. So that's a good one to watch if you want to watch something that's edited, of all the point of views, all in the way that it happened, while also being edited down so you don't have to see all the parts where they're just gearing up and hunting for each other, and more or less shows a lot of the combat along with some of the goofy shit without any of the boring in between stuff. And then there's this one part of an episode I just got done watching where Maya Knight himself, it's an iconic meme in the Maya Knight fandom, where Maya Knight himself gets slain by a small spider. I have to DM a playlist so that when you get the chance. Fair. I don't know that Jericho put his highlights into a playlist. I'd have to figure out how to actually make a playlist of Maya Knight itself, because I know someone tried to make a playlist of, like, the important episodes, but the thing is, in my opinion, all the episodes are important in their own way, because the person who tried to make a playlist of all the important episodes only went for Captain's point of view. They didn't look through any other point of view. None of them. Sounds like he went to Australia for vacation. Bro, the delay is so bad, that's coming out of context. So ever making a playlist of, like, what the actual storyline is would mean having to re-go through all the episodes in order. That... no offense, but that's a lot. It would be nice if there were, like, someone who edited... When you mentioned the meme about God character show up and then dying to a tiny spider. Yeah, he died to a small spider. And his immediate response in chat to it, when people started laughing, was, "No, forget." That's the meme. That's the meme. Everyone in the Maya Knight fandom knows that meme. If you ever look into it, and you see stuff about the small spider, mention a purge event on Maya Knight. Yeah, the purge is, they did it in season 1, at least. They did it once a week after the first story arc, which was the war arc, and going into the second story arc, which was the Shadows arc. They introduced the purge then as a way to just not have wars going on, because it was exhausting on everyone that there was one dude who was really good at PvP while the rest of them were not as great at PvP. So they had a Tank of Judgment, and that's a animation on that Mama's Boy. He made an animation about the Tank of Judgment, and it was basically about, like, hey, the gods are gonna judge you, and then if you're judged badly for your crimes, then let that be a lesson. And the dude who got judged badly was the one who was beating everyone up during the war arc. So they introduced the purge for the sake of not having that fighting continue. Which was once a week, all crime was legal, and for a 2-hour period, because they couldn't do 24 hours because that would just be too unfair. And they created a system where it's like you have your own personal vault where you can keep your things. And, you know, the captain at the time was like, I'm going to do excessive redstone. So he made an insane redstone setup that was to detect how many shovels were in a hopper. And, you know, then his vault would open. And there's an animation that Mama's Boy made regarding one of these purges because everyone wanted to get into his vault. So he drank a strength pot and won a 3v1. And it's goofy because Mama's Boy made him, like, all bulked up after he drank the strength pot. But yeah, My Night Purge highlights would be a good channel to watch if you want to see the Purge events. Because Alex genuinely worked hard on making those edits. And then, for some reason, deleted them off YouTube, so someone else re-uploaded them. And then the purges continued on until some point in season -1. They did a couple purges in season -1, but not many. And then in season 2, they did like a handful of purges. But season 1 had the most purges because they were like, we want to do this because it's funny. In season 1, they made their own agreed upon rules. In season 2, the first purge was a free-for-all, and then the following ones were ones set up by the admins with specific gear that the admins would give the streamers, but then be like, okay, now hand that back once it's done. Not everyone would hand it back. And then, in season -1, I think they wanted to do the free-for-all again because the free-for-alls were funny. But then they realized because one of the streamers was genuinely a noob to Minecraft, like, they should just make it a set type of gear. So they did that for the remaining couple of purges. Season -1 honestly has the most storyline, which is why they don't have as many purges. Because the way that the series worked is that season 1 didn't really have much storyline. And then season 2, they brought on a whole team for the storyline for the entire season. So, like, they kind of got this reputation of, like, do it bigger, do it better. You know? So when season -1 came around, they were like, do it bigger, do it better. So yeah, they brought on, like, as many of the season 2 team as they could. But also not everyone in the team was still on the team. So the writing style is a little different. And season -1, they also got voice actors for the god characters and some of the other characters. So that was pretty cool. Because before that point, it was kind of just up to interpretation, which, Captain Sparkle's reading in a female voice is something that will haunt nightmares. It just will. It simply just will. I remember, there's a certain episode in season 2 where one of the female characters tells him, like, hey, maybe don't read my text in a female voice, like breaking the fourth wall, because it was one of the god characters. And so he went, okay, and started reading in as deep of a voice as possible. Just going from to like those kinds of pitches. Okay. It was some goofy shit. Sounds like it might have went through some changes. I'll have to check it out, but what's the chronological way to watch it? Do I start with season -1? Okay. If my theory about it being a time loop is correct, then start with season 1 because it'll make the most sense for the time loop. Season 1. Because if you start with season -1, you're going to get confused. There's going to be so much references that you're not going to catch up on. So season 1 and then season Trinity Island, season 2, and then season -1. That's the chronological order of the series. That's this order that it came out in. So that's the order that the streamers have memories of playing the game in. So there's things that they mention that happen in the earlier seasons that you're just not gonna get if you just start off with season -1. Season -1 technically in that timeline is the first, but for the viewing experience, season 1 is where to start, with season -1 being the end. Season 1, Trinity Island, season 2 before season -1. Because season -1 comes last. There's stuff referenced in season -1 that happened in season 2 that you won't know about unless you watch season 2 first. So, season 1, Trinity Island, season 2, and then season -1. Misheard. That's fair. I'd recommend it that way just because there's something that happens at the end of season -1 that if you loop it back, like for the sake of rewatching, it makes so much sense. Season 1, Trinity Island, season 2, then season -1. Yes. And if you rewatch it, it makes so much sense. Like, rewatching it now and just knowing certain things that happen in season -1, going back to season 1 and season 2 in Trinity Island, it makes so much sense. Like, the writers tie up certain loose ends that they tried to, like, write out of the series because they didn't know what to do with at first. And they make it make sense in the end. But at the same time, it kind of makes you... Alright, I'm gonna head on out and try and find a playlist of all the episodes from each season. There's not a playlist of all the stuff in one go. You just kind of have to go to the channels and look up the playlists themselves for each independent season. Yeah, Trinity Island is just a filler arc, but also there's references to it in season 2. So, and also a little bit in season -1, I guess. So yeah, it's something that it's worth watching for the sake of getting the full idea of what's going on. Try watch Captain's point of view first. Watch his point of view and also Jericho's weekly highlights, because you kind of get to see some stuff from his point of view with his weekly highlights, and those are edited down. Honestly, I'd recommend with Jericho's weekly highlights first, because he was like one of the first people on Maya Night, whereas Captain was he was like the last streamer to join, I'm pretty sure. Mostly enjoyed watching his Maya Night videos. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, Jericho, you know, he was, if you remember anything from the series, he was a Maya Night follower. And Captain and Jericho's POV. Yeah. just for the highlights for the time being. You can go back and watch the full VODs on your own time. But the highlights are where it's at. And he doesn't... Jericho, what's his channel called? Let me look it up real quick. Because I used to genuinely watch his channel, so hold on. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, just Jericho in all caps. And his icon is like a fan art picture of him wearing sunglasses, looking all cool, with smoke coming out from under the sunglasses. He's got 1.2 million subscribers. But yeah. Let me see if I can find the My Night highlights. Weekly highlights. Yeah, he's got weekly highlights on his page. So I'd recommend going back and checking those out for the sake of, you know, knowing what was going on with his side of the story, while also not having to sit through all of his long videos. Because he just posted the streams as is, but then also edited a weekly highlight. So helpful for the sake of knowing that side of the storyline while still being in the early on part. And then because I kind of looked into trying to see everyone's point of view, I saw point of views that aren't as known, like, unless he only has a VODs channel. I don't think he does. Just Jericho, all caps. There's one POV I found. It was Champ1. Champ1 was the priest assistant. I feel like a grandma trying to use Google. Oh, that's so real. Champ1 was the priest assistant, otherwise known as the priest bitch. He posted his own point of view. He did, like, smaller episodes. But at the same time, he wasn't too involved with the storyline. Tried that, but I couldn't find his channel. Huh? Hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on just a dang on second here. Hang on. One of his videos just started playing. Channel spelled like Jericho or spelled differently? It's spelled like that, but it's all caps. Jericho. All caps. Give me the video from his channel. I'll try to find highlights. Begging. I want to try to find week 1 highlights to... just so you're not overwhelmed with the season 2 ones. Where the frick are they? Shit. It's possible he got rid of them for the sake of getting rid of the Mionite content on his channel. Because all I really see now is the highlights from Season 2. This is so sad. Alexa, play Despacito. Yeah, genuinely, it's possible he got rid of them. Shit. He had some good highlights, dude. Fuck. I'm scrolling through the page and I can't I can't find his Season 1 highlights. Sir gifts a yellow emoji being Thanos stabbed. Gotta head out, go get something to eat. It was fun listening to you up and talk about mine. I feel like I'm middle school. I first found Tumblr. Oh, that's fair. Yeah. Sorry I couldn't find it for you. He does Season 2 highlights though, so when you get to Season 2, those are still up on the internet. Check the Mionite wiki. Yeah, that's fair. Just to warn you, the Mionite wiki is very biased because it's mostly written by fans. Might be something there, it's fine. Yeah. It is very biased because it's a lot of the fans that wrote it. See ya. See ya. But yeah. It's a favorite series of mine. It's like how in Gravity Falls I really like all the problematic characters. I like Stanley Pines even though he did so much fucked up shit in his past. You know, it's like he's got such an extensive criminal history, but at the same time, at the end of the day, he just wanted his family to be safe. I don't know, it might just be a thing of me appreciating characters who are willing to do the most fucked up shit to try and keep their family safe. Even if that means losing themselves in the process. I don't know if that's just a me thing. It might just be. Lose yourself in the music the moment you don't. Better never let it go. You only get one shot, then not miss a chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better. Gotta love it. Dude, it is summer and it is getting hot. It is 90 degrees out, basically. The sun is shining in through the windows. Oh wait, shit, I'm at 200. I can go over here now. I'm a big kid now. Excuse me, by the way. Who are you? Okay, this is where the ash comes in useful. Okay. Let me smack him. Smack. 1 damage. 1 damage. Doing 1 damage per click. That means 100 clicks to beat this guy. Hopefully he doesn't regen. Click, 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 click. I heard from Nate that if you spam click this guy, then the game will tell you off for spam clicking. Which is very unfortunate because I used to play another game like this where you could spam click. and I would just spam click like crazy. So I'm having to get rid of the muscle memory of spam clicking. But I'm doing alright. I defeated him! I win! Ooh, chest. I found a useful mouse tool. Oh wait, shit. This is 13. Huh? I found 13! I found 13! I found the 13 guy! That's cool. Anything here? If I climb up here, will I find anything? Oh? Oh. Dead end. That's sad. Yeah, PvP area. Is hold on. What? I don't know what to do at this point. I guess I should start, oh, what do I do? What do I do? I'm gonna need Nate's advice. I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna go /spawn. I accidentally hit caps lock. It's fine. I think that's where I'm gonna end stream, because I don't know what to do from here. And my single player save is on my old computer, which I didn't have transferred over to this one, which I'm, that kind of makes me a little iffy. But at the same time, that means that I get a fresh start with everything that I was trying to do, which means that I could probably just try and just do some cool stuff and stop obsessing over filling in every single hole. Actually, hold on. There's my face. Okay. So yeah. Sorry for the jump scare. Woo! I'll be seeing you guys later. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. It really just depends. I'm walking backwards to try and find a suitable place to outro this, because I would like to hide somewhere while I'm outroing and not have people staring at me 24/7. So, now that I've made it to the end of this very dodgy hallway, thank you guys for watching. Anyone who's here, who watched this far into the stream, how long have we been going for? That would be something worth finding out. Let me see if I can find the answer to that question here. We have been going for almost 3 hours. But you know what? For a welcome back stream, it's not too bad. So, yeah. I'm gonna love you and leave you. I know it's shorter than my normal stream, but is what it is. Okay.